Imagine being trapped in a dark, silent classroom, unsure if the shadow outside is just a prank or something far more sinister. These are real-life school lockdown stories that will send shivers down your spine. Story number 1. It was a typical boring day in calculus, Friday, 7th period, meaning the week was almost over and spring break was finally upon us. Everyone was getting antsy in their seats. Unlike many of my friends who had tests that day, we didn't have one, so our laid-back teacher decided to play games with us on Sporkle.com. As we worked on a brand logo quiz, I remember the exact moment everything changed. Right after my friend answered a question, Adidas, the dean's voice came through the loudspeaker. He sounded panicked as he instructed all teachers to go into lockdown, stating that it was not a drill. Chills ran down my spine, and I felt goosebumps as our usually relaxed teacher hurried to turn off the lights and usher us into the back corner of the room. We sat in silence for about 2 minutes, and then the usual buzzing from a panel in the back of the room stopped, indicating that the school must have cut all power. We exchanged worried glances, realizing the seriousness of the situation. A few minutes later, we heard a man screaming at the top of his lungs in the hallway. 2 girls in our class started crying, which heightened our fear. The screaming grew louder as the man began banging on the lockers, shouting, "I will kill all of you." At that moment, I truly feared for my life. My teacher shushed us as we looked at each other, taking in our peers' reactions. The banging then shifted to our classroom door. One of the crying girls screamed, "No!" The pounding intensified as the man yelled, "Open up!" Now, 2 girls were sobbing uncontrollably. It felt like an eternity as he pounded on the door, but eventually he continued down the hallway, screaming like a madman until we could no longer hear him. About 10 minutes later, though it felt like half an hour, the dean returned to the loudspeaker to explain the situation. He revealed that a mentally unstable man had entered the building and assaulted the woman at the front desk, causing her to flee in terror. Staff were unsure whether the man was armed. At that time, the school lacked cameras and proper security, leaving it vulnerable to such incidents. The staff conducted a sweep of the hallways and classrooms but couldn't find him. The dean instructed teachers to resume their lessons, but to keep all doors locked and not let students leave for any reason. The most disturbing part was that one of the janitors on the night shift later found the man sleeping in a storage closet at the back of the school. According to rumors, a .44 Magnum was sticking out of his pocket. It seemed the janitor must have done something to wake him, like leaving the closet door open, because by the time a police officer arrived, the man was gone. To this day, my entire class has no idea if that man was ever found, but I hope he is receiving the help he needs. Story number 2. My school has 2 lunch periods. The first is for all 6th graders and some 7th graders, while the second is for the remaining 7th graders and all 8th graders. The lockdown occurred in early October on an overcast, rainy day. During the first lunch period, I heard 4 loud booms. I initially thought it was thunder, but the lunch crowd erupted in screams. At first, I dismissed their panic, but then campus security rushed in, yelling for everyone to go to the multi-purpose room. Kids in line for lunch had to throw away their meals and come inside. I joined my friends in the room, along with a large group of other students. Everyone was curious about what was happening. Our multi-purpose room is huge, with a back wall made of see-through glass. When we were rushed inside, security began covering the glass with curtains while adults stationed themselves at every exit. My friend Eric, like the rest of us, was curious and asked one of the adults what was going on. When he returned, he said, "You know those houses right in front of TMS? There's a mentally disabled man barricaded in front of his house, threatening to commit self-harm and end the cops if they try to evict him. He was walking around outside, creepily watching kids. To make matters worse, it turned out the man was a registered S offender." We were stuck in the multi-purpose room for an hour, occupying 2 periods. After the situation was resolved, we were escorted back to our classrooms one by one. I later learned that the man lived next to my friend Brandy, who recounted a previous Halloween when she saw him at his window, cutting his arm and writing in his own blood, "Don't come here, or I'll end you." At the time, People, including Brandy, assumed it was just a Halloween stunt, but after this horrifying incident, we realized he was truly unstable and felt relieved he never got near us. Story number 3. Now, at 22 years old and fresh out of college, I recently landed a job as a computer intern at my old high school, working in the messy and disorganized basement. However, there is a small, pleasant 3-person office down there with nice desks, mini fridges, a flat-screen TV, and air conditioning, luxuries the students and teachers can't enjoy. I got this job thanks to the support of 3 of my old computer teachers, who are now real friends. Everything was going well until something happened a few weeks ago. My 2 co-workers, Dave and Gary, were upstairs working on papers while I ate my sandwich during lunch. Suddenly, I received a phone call from one of the women in the front office, informing me that the school was on lockdown due to a possibly armed intruder. With no real door to our office and the basement door lacking a working lock, there wasn't much I could do except turn off the lights. I texted Gary and Dave, but they didn't respond. I sat in the dark, playing games on my phone for about 20 minutes, waiting for updates from the front office. Then, the basement door creaked open. As the sound echoed, I sat up, wondering if I should call out to Gary or Dave. Someone ran down the stairs, and their footsteps approached my office. I instinctively crawled under my desk, paralyzed by fear. Someone entered the office but didn't turn on the lights. It was silent, and I felt like a single noise would mean my end. Suddenly, my phone dinged with a text message, and I felt my heart drop. The footsteps drew closer, and I panicked, diving out from under the desk and pleading for my life. Just then, someone grabbed my arm and pulled me up. It was a man in a red plaid shirt and a reddish-black cap. "It's okay," he said. "I'm just hiding down here with you." "What's going on up there?" I whispered my question, but he ignored it and asked if there was an exit. I directed him, but before he could move, I asked, "Who are you?" There was a brief silence before he explained that he had come to pick up his son when a teacher told him to hide. I checked my phone and saw a text from Dave. "Dude, this is crazy. Some guy with a gun shot Mr. Buckley. He's wearing a red shirt and hat. Whatever you do, don't come upstairs." I was about to read that text aloud to the man when I looked up and felt my stomach drop. He seemed to sense my suspicion. In a panic, I bolted for the stairs. A gunshot echoed through the basement, and I heard a bullet ricochet off something metal in the darkness. Thankfully, I made it upstairs, where police were waiting at all exits, and apprehended the man as soon as he opened the door. Fortunately, Mr. Buckley survived the gunshot. It was later revealed that he and the man had some unresolved conflict, though the details were never disclosed. All we know is that Mr. Buckley didn't do anything to warrant such a violent reaction, and the sound of that gunshot will forever echo in my mind. That is it for today's stories. Hope you've enjoyed, and if you love spine-tingling tales like these, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We dive into the dark side of everyday places every week. You won't want to miss what's lurking in the shadows.